Here are the Amish 25 free organic gardening hacks you'll wish you knew sooner. Rusty nail and water barrel. Among the Amish, no resource is wasted, including an old, rusty nail. Drop a few rusty nails into your rainwater barrel and let them sit. As the water collects, it draws trace amounts of iron from the rusting metal. This acts as a natural iron supplement for your garden, especially helpful for plants like spinach, beets, and tomatoes that benefit from iron-rich water. Simply fill your watering can from the barrel as usual, letting the nails stay submerged. Replace them when they begin to fully corrode. This age-old trick is a free, low-effort way to boost plant nutrition without synthetic fertilizers. The Amish have long known how to turn even the most worn-out materials into something useful. And if you think nails are clever, just wait until you see how they handle tomato ties using something most would sweep off the barn floor. Use horsehair for tomato ties. Amish farmers often reuse materials others wouldn't consider, like loose horsehair. After grooming horses, they collect the long strands and repurpose them as soft, durable tomato ties. Gather the strands into small bundles, twist gently, and loop around tomato stems and stakes, tying loosely to avoid damage. Horsehair is strong, yet flexible, allowing the plant to sway naturally without breaking. It won't cut into tender stems like twine or wire, and it's biodegradable, making cleanup easy at the end of the season. It's a brilliant, free alternative to store-bought garden tape. This type of resourcefulness is common in Amish communities, where simple living encourages using what's on hand. And when it comes to reusing bags, they've figured out a surprisingly productive way to grow crops in the least likely containers. Plant potatoes in old feed bags. Don't toss those empty feed sacks. Turn them into potato planters. The Amish often reuse woven feed bags, filling them with a few inches of compost and soil, then planting seed potatoes inside. As the plants grow, keep adding soil gradually, allowing only the top leaves to stay exposed. This encourages more tubers to form along the buried stem. The bags offer excellent drainage, mobility, and easy harvesting. Just dump them out when the vines yellow and die back. They're also perfect for gardeners with limited space. Use natural fiber bags if possible, or cut slits in plastic ones for airflow. It's a brilliant way to grow a heavy-yield crop without needing dedicated ground space. And while your potatoes bulk up in those bags, an old-fashioned pest deterrent might just be hanging on a nearby fence post. Hang bar soap and socks on fence posts. To keep deer and rabbits out of Amish gardens, you might spot bars of strong, scented soap like Irish Spring hanging in old socks or stockings from fence posts. Cut each bar in half and drop it into a sock, then tie it securely and hang it around the perimeter of your garden. The strong scent confuses and deters animals from nibbling your crops. Replace every few weeks or after heavy rains to maintain effectiveness. This chemical-free deterrent is especially useful during early planting when tender shoots are most vulnerable. It's a clever way to reuse odds and ends while protecting your hard work. And if you're looking to improve your soil without lifting a shovel, there's a trick buried deep, literally, that builds fertility from the ground up. Bury rotten logs under beds, or hugelkulturlight. In Amish tradition, soil health is sacred, and hugelkulturlight is a time-honored method to feed beds naturally. Instead of digging full mounds, simply bury rotting logs, branches, or wood chunks beneath your garden beds when preparing the soil. The buried wood holds moisture, breaks down slowly, and releases nutrients, acting like a sponge for your plant's roots. Start by digging a trench, laying down old wood and covering it with compost and topsoil. Over time, the decomposition improves drainage, fertility, and soil structure. This method mimics natural forest floors and reduces the need for frequent watering or fertilizing. It's a quiet, powerful way to let nature do the heavy lifting. Just another example of Amish wisdom transforming everyday scraps into long-term abundance. Use milk residue from churn for powdery mildew. Among the Amish, even the residue left after butter churning doesn't go to waste. The leftover milk or buttermilk, slightly sour and rich in natural enzymes, can be diluted and used as a remedy for powdery mildew on crops like cucumbers, squash, and zucchini. Mix 1 part milk residue with 2 parts water and spray directly onto the affected leaves every 7 to 10 days. The enzymes and beneficial bacteria in the milk disrupt fungal growth helping reduce the spread naturally. Apply in the morning to allow the foliage to dry by evening, which prevents further issues. This method is safe for edible crops, gentle on pollinators, and free if you're already making dairy at home. It's one of those beautifully simple solutions that fits seamlessly into a closed-loop lifestyle. And speaking of multipurpose byproducts, there's another overlooked garden aid, dark, dusty, and pulled straight from the hearth. Sprinkle fireplace soot around cold weather crops. Fireplace ash isn't the only valuable leftover. Soot from the chimney sweepings can help fortify cold-hardy vegetables. The Amish often collect soot from their wood stove flues or fireplace chimneys and carefully sprinkle a thin layer around crops like cabbage, kale, and turnips. Soot is rich in potassium and trace minerals and gives these leafy crops a mild nutrient boost in late fall and early spring. It also deters slugs and soft-bodied pests due to its fine, gritty texture. Avoid over-application and make sure the soot is from untreated wood. This frugal practice supports plant growth while repurposing what might otherwise be discarded. Let your fireplace warm more than just your home. It can help feed your garden too. But while you're harvesting those root crops, there's another trick the Amish use to keep them snug and undamaged long after they've been pulled from the soil. Pack crushed walnut shells around root veggies. When storing carrots, beets, or parsnips through the winter, Amish families sometimes turn to crushed walnut shells as a protective layer. After cracking walnuts for the season, they save and dry the shells, then crush them slightly and pack them around root vegetables stored in wooden crates or root cellars. The shells help absorb moisture, deter rodents and insects, and allow airflow to prevent rot. Their coarse texture keeps the veggies from touching each other, reducing spoilage. It's a zero-waste storage solution that keeps crops fresh for months. Walnut shells also break down slowly and can be composted or reused afterwards. It's yet another example of making the most of every part of the harvest. And while you're working with natural fibers and scraps, there's another common material that might surprise you, one that's often trimmed, swept, and forgotten. Line row edges with human hair. Collected from brushes or after haircuts, human hair is a clever Amish deterrent for garden pests. The scent of human hair confuses deer, rabbits, and other small critters, tricking them into thinking people are nearby. Simply scatter clumps of hair along garden rows or mix it into the mulch around vulnerable plants. Some gardeners also tie it in mesh bags and hang it from stakes. Hair also breaks down slowly, adding small amounts of nitrogen to the soil over time. It's free, biodegradable, and surprisingly effective. This trick turns grooming waste into a pest solution. Simple, natural, and right in line with Amish frugality. And if pests like slugs are still sneaking through, there's one more trap that calls for no chemicals, just a broken pot and a shady hiding spot. Repurpose broken clay pots as slug traps. Don't throw out chipped or broken clay pots. Flip them upside down near vulnerable plants like lettuce or strawberries, with the rim partially buried or propped slightly to create an entrance. Slugs and snails love the cool, damp interior, and by morning they'll have gathered inside. You can then remove or dispose of them manually. Clay holds moisture and creates an ideal dark retreat for these pests, making it a passive but effective trap. Position several broken pieces throughout the garden, checking them daily. This simple method keeps your crops cleaner without harsh pesticides and gives cracked pots a useful second life. Use feather down in planting holes. Feathers, especially soft down feathers from chickens or ducks, are rich in nitrogen and keratin, making them an excellent slow-release fertilizer. The Amish often save feathers after processing poultry and tuck small handfuls into planting holes, especially for crops like tomatoes, squash, or peppers. As the feathers decompose, they provide nutrients gradually, helping support root development and leafy growth. To use, dig your planting hole, place a layer of down at the bottom, cover with an inch or two of soil, and then set your seedling or seed. The extra layer prevents roots from touching the feathers directly. This method is entirely free and makes good use of what would otherwise be compost or waste. It also improves soil texture over time, as feathers are light and airy. Using natural byproducts is a central part of Amish gardening wisdom. And if you're already managing weeds, there's one simple way to let them serve your soil, right where they fall. Chop weeds and leave them where they fall. Instead of pulling weeds and tossing them, Amish gardeners often cut them down and leave them as mulch. This method, known as chop and drop, allows the weeds to decompose in place, returning nutrients to the soil while also suppressing new weed growth. Use a sharp hoe, sickle, or garden shears to cut the weeds at the base, especially before they go to seed. Leave them where they fall, around garden beds or between rows. As they break down, they form a light mulch that helps retain moisture, shade soil, and improve structure. Deep-rooted weeds even bring up minerals from below, making their remains especially valuable. This technique saves time and builds a natural layer of compost without hauling anything away. It's a perfect, low-effort, no-waste approach. And while your garden feeds off fallen foliage, your fruit trees could benefit from something buried a bit deeper and much older. Bury animal bones near fruit trees. Amish families often put animal bones to use as long-term fertilizer, particularly for fruit trees. Rich in calcium, phosphorus, and other minerals, bones break down slowly, feeding deep-rooted plants over time. After butchering, bones are cleaned, dried, and crushed if possible, then buried in the root zone of young trees about 12 to 18 inches down to prevent scavengers from digging them up. You can place whole bones if crushing isn't practical. They'll decompose over several seasons. This adds structure to the soil while slowly releasing nutrients that help strengthen fruit, flower production, and root development. It's a no-cost way to nourish trees naturally, and an age-old practice in homestead orchards. You're not just planting a tree, you're building a legacy of nourishment. And while bones feed the roots underground, there's something surprisingly tangy that can keep pests away from above. Use leftover pickle brine to repel ants. Don't pour leftover pickle brine down the drain. It's a potent natural ant repellent. Amish households often take sour or fermented brine, especially from dill or vinegar-based pickles, and pour or spray it around ant trails, garden bed edges, and entry points. The strong scent of vinegar, salt, and spices disrupts ant pheromone trails, encouraging them to relocate. Soak a cloth in brine and leave it near known problem spots, or pour it directly into ant hills outside, but never on your crops. It's an effective, food-safe method that repurposes kitchen waste into a pest control solution. Just avoid overuse near delicate plants due to the salt content. This trick is especially handy around raised beds or walkways where ants often set up shop. And while you're repurposing garden foes and kitchen leftovers, don't forget, those same weeds you chopped earlier can be turned into liquid gold for your soil. Ferment weeds into weed tea fertilizer. What most see as nuisance weeds, Amish gardeners often see as free fertilizer. To make weed tea, gather fresh green weeds like dandelions, comfrey, chickweed, or lamb's quarters. Chop them roughly and place them in a large bucket. Fill with water and weigh the plant matter down with a rock or brick. Cover loosely and let it ferment for 1 to 2 weeks, stirring every few days. The result is a nutrient-rich, slightly smelly liquid that can be diluted 1 to 10 parts water and poured around plants as a natural nitrogen and micronutrient boost. Strain before applying to avoid clogs in watering cans. This tea speeds up growth and strengthens plants without synthetic inputs. Be sure to use weeds that haven't gone to seed and avoid spraying on leaves to prevent burning. It's a brilliant way to turn unwanted growth into garden power. Another time-tested technique that shows how nothing in nature needs to go to waste. Tuck corn husks around the base of tall plants. Corn husks aren't just compost, they're a valuable mulch for supporting tall garden plants. After harvesting sweet corn, the Amish often save the husks, dry them briefly, then tuck them around the base of crops like sunflowers, tomatoes, or pole beans. The husks act as a light mulch, helping to retain moisture, suppress weeds, and stabilize the base of tall plants in windy conditions. Lay the husks loosely, but densely around each stem, overlapping to create a breathable mat. As they break down, they also feed the soil with organic matter. This method uses what's already on hand and keeps garden beds tidy while giving support to top-heavy crops. Plus, it's fully biodegradable and blends into the natural landscape. Over time, the husks soften and become a part of the soil ecosystem. Once your plants are standing tall and well supported, you might want to consider a curious Amish method for keeping four-legged pests at bay. With nothing but old lard, Apply rendered fat to fence posts for pest control. Rendered animal fat, especially lard or tallow, has long been used in Amish homesteads as a simple but effective pest deterrent. To protect gardens from raccoons, rabbits, and deer, lightly smear a thin layer of rendered fat along fence posts, garden gate edges, or perimeter boards. The strong scent confuses and repels many animals that rely on smell to navigate. Reapply every few weeks or after heavy rain. It's important to use only a light amount to avoid attracting unwanted insects or creating a greasy mess. This method is especially useful in early spring or fall when crops are vulnerable and animals are foraging heavily. It's another example of Amish ingenuity, turning byproducts into barriers without relying on synthetic repellents or sprays. Once the edges are guarded, it's time to give your soil and plants a natural layer of comfort using one of the most overlooked homestead fibers, sheep's wool. Lay down sheep wool for moisture retention. Sheep wool is more than a textile. It's a natural mulch and moisture barrier used by Amish gardeners for generations. Collect raw or washed wool trimmings and lay it around plants, especially water-loving crops like cabbage, cucumbers, and squash. Spread it 1–2 inches thick, leaving space around plant stems to prevent rot. Wool fibers trap moisture, regulate soil temperature, and deter slugs and snails with their coarse texture. As it decomposes slowly, wool adds nitrogen and trace minerals to the soil. It's also an excellent insulator, protecting roots from cold snaps or harsh sun. If you keep sheep or know a local spinner, wool seconds or leftovers are often free or very cheap. It's soft, natural, and long-lasting, everything a good mulch should be. And once your garden's blanketed in comfort, consider how something shiny, yes, even broken, can help defend your harvest from skybound thieves. Use cracked mirror pieces to scare birds. Birds can devastate ripening berries and fruit, but the Amish have a clever solution that costs nothing: cracked or broken mirror pieces. Salvage small mirror shards or old hand mirrors and tie or glue them to wooden stakes or hang them from string around your garden beds or orchard edges. Position them so they catch and reflect sunlight, creating flashes that mimic movement. The sudden glint startles birds like robins, starlings, and blackbirds, deterring them from landing or feeding. Rotate the mirrors occasionally to change the reflection angle. Be sure the edges are safe. Wrap sharp sides in duct tape or glue onto wood if needed. This reflective scare tactic works well for protecting strawberries, grapes, and tomatoes. It's an easy upcycled solution that turns broken household items into bird deterrents. And if you're tying things off or securing plants, you might be surprised at how well an old belt can still do the job. Old leather straps as plant ties. In Amish gardens, nothing goes to waste, not even old leather belts or harness straps. When cut into strips, worn leather makes excellent plant ties, strong, flexible, and gentle on stems. Use scissors to cut half-inch wide pieces, then wrap them loosely around tomato plants, beanstalks, or young fruit trees, tying them to stakes or trellises. Leather weathers well outdoors, resists rot, and is soft enough to avoid damaging tender growth. It can be reused season after season and develops a rustic patina over time. You can also soak the straps briefly before using to make them easier to tie. Whether salvaged from old work gear or repurposed belts, leather is durable and biodegradable. It's yet another way Amish gardeners make do with what they already have, turning everyday items into practical garden tools. And from belts to beds, every little bit in a self-sustaining system has its role, right down to what's buried deep underground. Fish scale and gut trap for soil microbes. Amish gardeners value every part of a harvest, including the remains of a fish. After cleaning fresh fish, they often bury the scales, guts, and heads in shallow pits across garden beds. These organic remains don't just break down into nutrients. They attract beneficial soil microbes and worms that help decompose organic matter and enrich the surrounding earth. Dig small holes 6 to 8 inches deep, add the fish scraps, and cover them with soil. Within weeks, the area becomes a hot spot for microbial activity, improving plant health and soil texture. This method works especially well before planting heavy feeders like corn or squash. The result is a mini trap that feeds the underground ecosystem for weeks. It's a zero-cost, all-natural fertilizer system that also keeps waste out of the trash. Once your microbes are thriving below ground, it's time to label what's growing above with a touch of rustic charm from your nearest tree. Tree bark tags for row markers. Forget plastic stakes and printed tags. Amish gardeners often use pieces of tree bark to label rows and crops. Collect flat, dry bark from fallen branches and use a knife or sharp nail to scratch plant names or symbols into each piece. Attach them to wooden stakes, lay them at the ends of rows, or tie with twine to garden supports. The bark naturally weathers but holds up through a full growing season, and its earthy look blends beautifully with any plot. These biodegradable markers don't blow away in the wind or fade like paper tags, and they're completely free. Choose bark that's light in color with a smooth surface, like birch or poplar, to make writing more visible. This simple trick brings both function and folkcraft into your planting system. And while you're reusing nature's materials, don't throw away that old basket just yet. It might still have one more job to do. Weave broken basket bits into trellises. When an old woven basket begins to fall apart, Amish gardeners don't toss it. They repurpose the sturdy wicker or reed strips to build small trellises or plant supports. Select long, flexible pieces from broken baskets, soak them briefly in water to make them pliable, and weave them between upright sticks or poles in a crisscross or ladder pattern. These handmade supports are perfect for lightweight climbers like peas, nasturtiums, or cucumbers. They allow air to flow freely through the plants, reducing mildew risk and supporting healthy growth. Over time, the material weathers naturally and can be composted. This craft-based reuse adds charm to any garden and helps minimize waste. It's a reminder that even damaged goods still have value when viewed creatively. And if your brassicas are looking for a natural feeding boost, there's something you might already have saved from your kitchen scraps, thin, papery, and full of hidden power. Use onion skin infusion to feed brassicas. Instead of tossing onion skins, Amish gardeners steep them in water to create a natural nutrient tea for cabbage, broccoli, kale, and other brassicas. Rich in potassium, sulfur, and antioxidants, onion skins help strengthen plant defenses and promote robust leaf development. To make the infusion, fill a large jar with a few handfuls of dry onion skins, cover with hot water, and let it steep for 24 to 48 hours. Strain the liquid and pour it directly at the base of plants once a week. This helps improve pest resistance and supports strong root systems. The infusion is especially helpful in mid-season when brassicas need an extra boost. It's a great way to recycle kitchen scraps into something your garden will love. And speaking of natural protectants, there's a fragrant herb that does double duty when rubbed on one of your most beloved staple crops. Rub crushed mint leaves on seed potatoes. Before planting, Amish gardeners sometimes rub fresh, crushed mint leaves on seed potatoes to discourage pests and fungal rot. Mint contains natural compounds like menthol and rosmarinic acid that have antifungal and insect-repelling properties. Take a handful of mint, fresh is best, and crush the leaves slightly to release the oils. Rub them over the cut surfaces or eyes of each potato seed piece just before planting. Allow the potatoes to air dry for a few hours, forming a protective skin before planting in well-drained soil. This simple step helps prevent early season rot and deters soil-dwelling pests like wireworms. Plus, it adds a lovely fresh scent to planting day. Mint is easy to grow and becomes a helpful companion around the garden for this and many other uses. For more contents like this, click here to subscribe.